Well, I think I have the best job in the world. I get to learn every day, and I learn not only through my research, but I learn through my students, both undergraduate and graduate students, and through my colleagues. And because I'm engaged in the community, particularly with community-based organizations, I learn from them. And then I'm active globally, I'm active internationally, so I have learned from my international colleagues. So I guess sounds like I learn a lot, and that's really one of the best things that I do. With learning, I also do teaching, so it's kind of a teaching and learning profession, and it's really fun to do both and they feed on one another. Well, I'm very interested in families in a global context, particularly around culture and how culture influences money and finances, the values around that. And that came out of a couple of experiences I've had in life. One was spending 2 years in Thailand, living and working with families in rural Thailand. So I got really a good sense of how culture affects families and changes things for families. And then I worked in northern Minnesota in Extension for 3 years, and I worked with families impacted by the taconite shutdown, and so they were really struggling financially. And then fast forward that to welfare reform and some of the policy changes and how families have struggled to make ends meet. And now to kind of my current passion is bringing it home to a certain extent. I'm working on research with Karen refugee families who come out of Burma, or the Karen state in Burma, and then to Thailand camps, and now to Minnesota. So it really connects the dots for me and around their financial well-being. Well, at the core of what we do is really the family system, and it's very interdependent. So what happens to one happens to another. There's no kind of individual isolated person. And then if you take it even to a little more complex view, you see that families are embedded in multiple systems as well. So I like to use an ecological approach, which puts family in the center, in communities, in schools, in their natural environment as well. Sometimes we forget about how important that is, that we use resources from our natural environment and it impacts families. And as importantly, families impact our natural environment. Also policies, our culture, our laws, our workplaces, all of those are systems and environments in which families move and interact on a regular basis. So having that understanding of how they impact one another and are interdependent with one another really helps us understand them more deeply. I have a particular passion for working with disenfranchised or vulnerable families because I believe it's really important for us at the university to use our privilege to support people that don't have the opportunities that other families do, especially in a land-grant institution where the mission is to bring our resources to people that don't have connections. So my work with refugee families feels that for me in a deep way. I believe that I am able to bring some new ideas, new understanding, not only to the families, but also to the literature and the way that we understand the multiple ways that families move and act in this world. So that's where I think that I am possibly making the most difference, is by learning with them. And I say with them intentionally because we're teaching each other, and then helping to inform policy and practice, and then just a general understanding of families that may not be familiar to others. Our research really has got an engaged philosophy about it, that we are trying to, again, I think it's about a continual evaluation or examination of how we show up in the world and our positionality, and how we need to be aware of that as we're moving in every aspect of our work. So it could be with our research, it could be in the classroom. How are we showing up, and how does that impact the room in which all our students are sitting. So it's just bringing that awareness. And then I think also selecting projects that have the potential to help the lives, improve the lives of others. And I think that's really the best we can hope for. And together, I think we have been making progress with our community partners, with the families that we serve. And little by little, I think we're contributing to a more just society.